I'm Katie Barrett at Recode.net, and today we will be interviewing speakers and attendees to ask them about diversity in the tech world. Mary, can you elaborate a little bit about diversity? What are its problems? How are we solving them?
You know, the thing that we focused on the slide is that one of the things I've learned as a decision maker and an investor is the best decisions are oftentimes made when you have the most diverse group of people in the room and the most diverse set of inputs. And I found that it's magic when you either hear or say, wow, thanks. I'd never thought about it that way. Thanks for telling me that. That's really interesting. And I think in tech, when I think about this issue, the number one thing people need to think about is unconscious bias and whether that exists or not. And everybody needs to be aware of it on all sides.
Do you agree that there's a lack of gender diversity in tech? And if so, how do we fix it?
Well, there definitely is. I mean, just think about the labor market. And you have to fix it primarily for expectations and education. I grew up in communism, which for all its bad things, had one good thing, which was that it emancipated the population because it was ideologically inappropriate for men to be different from women. And so I observed firsthand what happens when boys and girls are expected to do equally well at math and humanities. Surprisingly, they did perfectly well and equally well in math and humanities. So we have to start working much, much earlier.
I'm happy to say that at our firm last year, we, for the first time coming out of college, hired more women than men. Now, the important thing is we didn't go out and say that has to be the objective, because fundamentally I don't think you help diversity by just hiring people into quotas. I think you really have to work harder to make sure you find people who can do the job. And it's easy to say, well, we only get 30% of our resumes from women or 30% of our resumes from minorities. That just means that you probably need to change your recruiting strategy.
Many people just hire who they know. And so a lot of it is just opening up your circle, your network, trying to get more people in the mix, doing challenges, tests, all kinds of interesting ways, to, especially in the tech world, to find people who code, who may be blind hires, who you know nothing about their background. There are just some interesting ways with technology that you can actually break some of the biases that unfortunately people bring with them. But I think you just have to do it. You just have to jump in and say diversity is important and not rest until you get it. I'm a big believer that you get innovation when you have diversity. Diversity of thought, diversity of perspective, diversity of background. So if you're a tech company that thinks you're innovative, you have to be diverse.
I think after you get hired as a woman, you want to, what matters a lot is what the environment is like at the company that you land at. Is it a meritocracy or not, right? How are decisions made in social settings or at work, right? So I think it's really important for companies to focus on that and to really make sure that things are fair, not just for women, but for men or quiet people or introverts or extroverts. So I think that's really important.
We have meetings 3 times a week where we review our work. But I found that in meetings, oftentimes some of the men on the team would speak for women. So I would ask a woman a question and get ready for the response, and a man would literally jump in and answer the question. And so at some point this just became it's so flagrant that we literally had to just stop everything, take all of our materials, put them away, and we sat down and we did something that we do, which kind of, I guess, maybe a little hippie at our company, but we call it council, where you sit down in a circle and you basically take turns talking about how you feel about it. And so we had every member of the team talk about this phenomenon and why it was happening. And doing that, I think, was very galvanizing for the team, because it really recognized what had happened, which is not okay at our company, really in the world for that matter, and then gave everyone an opportunity to talk about how it made them feel.
From a lot of the things that we discussed about recruiting and bringing people and making sure that they stay on in the tech industry, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm just wondering whether some of the discussion should actually expand even before recruiting, right? Starting with education level, for example. Maybe the tech industry should sponsor some of the people that they would like to hire in as diversity, even at the early stage of education, so that they get the right education to come into the industry. Yeah.
We partnered with the President's Council and have offered $100 million. In fact, we're donating $100 million towards Connect Ed, which is really geared towards schools in low-income areas. And so while the criteria was actually income, what we found is the vast majority of the students who are getting the technology are minority. And so it's actually a really powerful feeder program. And we're excited about these things, and and are going to continue to push on this.